The global industrial sewing machine is best for sewing heavy cloth, thick cloth, or cloth that's in multiple layers. It is very fast, robust, and can punch through most of the cloth we're working with here. We'll start by showing you how to put the threads, the upper thread and the under thread, switch the machine off, and then work away to smaller problems and how to refill the thread. That the multi-plug is plugged into the wall. That goes down there, and that means that the sewing machine is plugged in. Under the right part of the sewing machine, there's this little box, which has the on and off switch, which we want to flip on, and then the P and the S button. These are for settings of the speed of the sewing machine, which I will not explain in this video, but can be read in the instruction manual, which should be close by the machine, or you can find on the internet. So let's start with the upper thread. We're using this big roll of industrial thread which comes up to this plate here. The thread nut then goes up to the holding hole, which is up there, and you just put it through and it goes back down. You then have your thread on top of the machine, and the first station is the little metal part with the 3 holes. So you put it through the first hole from the right side, pull it over the second hole, pull it over, and finally through the third hole. So it looks just like that. Once you got the thread through the second hole, you want to put it between the 2 plates right here. Once you've put the thread through the first and the second hole on the little metal pin, you then want to go on top of this little metal ring between the 2 plates, which are there for adjusting the pressure on the thread. It then goes down through the plates of the second adjustable pin, up and inside this small metal feather, which is there for the thread tension. It then goes under the metal hook and back up through this hole. Once you have it through this little hole, it goes back down here, so inside here, through this metal piece, and then from the left side to the right side through the needle. So if you've done that, it's supposed to look like that. The thread goes from the left to the right through the needle, through the little hole in the foot, and if you pull it, it should be a slightly bit of tension, but not too much. So the thread that comes from under the machine. To put this in place, you want to carefully flip the whole machine over and it reveals the lower side of the machine. Here you have your newly filled thread, and you want to put it back into the drum to fit it back in the machine. So you just flip it in and go with the thread through the small metal gap under the pin and into the hole. And now you can see you can pull easily. And if you pull the thread once you've put it in, you want the drum to spin counterclockwise. If you put it in the wrong way around, like that, you do the same, but it spins clockwise, and this won't work for the machine. And on this thing, there's the little lever. You can just let the thread hanging out of the drum and lift the lever and fit it in till it makes a click. Just like that. So you have your thread through the needle, and now you want to bring it down a bit and carefully pull the threads with the scissors out under the shoe so it's through the hole. So I've shown you how to put the underthread in, and now what happens if the underthread runs out? How do you refill it? So you again carefully flip the whole machine over and take the underthread out. Flip the machine back in place and lift this lever, and the thing should come out more or less easily, just like that. You then take the upper thread out of the system and roll it around your drum for maybe 5, 6, 7 times, just so it's tight. You then put it on the small metal pin to the right of the machine, like that. You then just hold the thread, but let it slide through your fingers. You press the pedal, and you'll feel the thread being pulled onto the drum. You can accelerate to make the whole process faster. Just make sure the thread always goes on easily and there's not too much tension pulling on the thread. So you now have both of your threads in place, and technically the machine is ready for sewing. I'll now go through the different ways and settings you can use on the machine. Down below you have the pedal, which if you press it down accelerates the machine. Be very careful using this because the machine goes very fast very easily. On the right side of the machine, you have the hand wheel, which if you pull it towards you, moves the needle up and down, just like the pedal, but in a much more controlled way. This lever decides whether you go forward or sew backwards. So if you press it down and press the pedal, it sews backwards, and if you let it go, it feathers back to the normal position. So I explained you the lever and the hand wheel. And this wheel is for adjusting the size of the stitches. So the higher the number, the wider the stitches, and the lower the number, the smaller the stitches. I figured that the number 4 is the best and most reliable sewing you can do with this machine. So to start off the sewing, you have your piece of cloth, which obviously goes under the foot of the machine. The upper thread is supposed to be under the foot but on top of the cloth, while the lower thread is supposed to be under the cloth. In the back of the machine, you have this lever which can flip down and up. So when you're ready to sew, you flip the lever down and the foot of the machine presses down the cloth and makes it able to move the cloth back and forwards. You start sewing with the hand wheels, so just by pulling it forward, it will do the same as the pedal. You should never pull or push the cloth because it will put tension on the needle and potentially break it. So when you start sewing, as said, you can use the hand wheel and at some point carefully the pedal. To make your sewing more resilient, you at the beginning sew backwards and forwards a bit to give it a bit more hold. Once you've finished your sewing and you want to take your piece back out of the machine, you lift up the lever and by that lift up the foot of the machine. And to get your cloth out, you want to have the needle out of the cloth, and that's very careful so you don't break the needle. And then as you pull the cloth out, you want to move the hand wheel towards you, back and forth, and check that there's no pressure while you're pulling your piece out. Leave a good 20 to 25 centimeters of thread coming out of the machine so you don't have to re-threaten it after you're sewing. And that's the first project. Once you have sewn with this machine for a while and you run into problems, there are a couple of ways to solve them. While sewing or while threading the machine, this happens. A lot of threads coming from the hole where only the under thread is supposed to come through. Do not ever pull this one because it will break the needle. What you can try is carefully twist the wheel towards you and pull on the threads at the same time, but without any hard pulling. Second problem. If your needle breaks for some reason, you need to know how to change the needle. So, to the right of the needle, there's this little metal screw which holds the needle in place. So we take the flat screwdriver and twist the screw to the left. Not too much, just so you can pull out the needle. You get your new needle, which is supposed to be a round top. It's carved on the one side and straight on the other side, and you want to have the straight side to the left. The hole in the needle is supposed to go from the left to the right when you put it in, so the thread can do the same. So you put it in the hole in the foot and just carefully fit it in till it reaches a blocking point. You then take your screwdriver again and twist it carefully. Don't tighten it too hard, just with your fingertips. And then you have your new needle in and can put the thread back in. And always make sure to have the hole going from the left to the right, so the thread can come through. Another couple of general notes to this machine are never to use pressure or hard pulling, because there's obviously something that blocks the machine, and if the machine isn't strong enough, it shouldn't be more power on it.